Hello, dear Libra. This isn't just a video, it's a divine interruption. And if you're here, it's not random. It means the universe has been whispering to your soul, trying to get your attention, and now, finally, you're ready to hear what it has to say. So let's get right to it. There's someone, likely a man, either in your life right now or about to enter. He's charming, polished, emotionally intelligent. But beneath that exterior is a subtle energy that can slowly unravel your inner balance, leaving you confused about your truth, unsure of your choices, and questioning your worth. This reading isn't meant to alarm you, it's meant to empower you with clarity. Because Libra, you are the sign of harmony, fairness, and grace. You see beauty in others. You forgive easily. And sometimes, you give people the benefit of the doubt longer than they deserve just to keep the peace. But here's the truth: not everyone who appears balanced is harmless. And someone may be using your kindness, your desire for equilibrium, and your fear of confrontation as tools to manipulate you. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you felt like your voice got quieter just to make someone else feel comfortable? Have you ever been told you're too sensitive, too idealistic, or that you overthink everything by someone who claims to care about you? Libra, someone may be chipping away at your light, not with anger, but with suggestion. Not by pushing you, but by gently, and repeatedly, pulling you away from your center. And that's exactly what this reading will uncover. Let me be clear, this isn't about villainizing anyone. It's about helping you recognize energetic dynamics before they cause harm. Because you, more than any other sign, need to feel aligned mind, body, and spirit. And today's message? You are allowed to protect your peace, even if it means disappointing someone else. Now, before we dive deeper, let me take a heartfelt moment to say thank you. Thank you for being here. For showing up for your own healing. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps bring these divine messages to exactly the people who need them most. And Libra, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a part of Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This sacred space exists because of your energy, your presence, and your desire to grow through light and truth. And believe me when I say, you'll want to stay until the very end of this message, because what the universe is about to reveal could change how you see this person and yourself forever. So what do you think pulled you here today? Comment your sacred number, 33. If that number is showing up for you, it's no coincidence. It's the number of alignment, awakening, and choosing peace over performance. Take a deep breath. Now let's begin. When harmony is your natural state, even the slightest imbalance can feel like a storm. For you, dear Libra, balance isn't just a concept, it's a calling. You were born under the rulership of Venus, the planet of beauty, love, and aesthetic refinement. This gives you an innate sensitivity to your surroundings emotionally, visually, and relationally. You can feel when something is off long before others notice. But ironically, it's this very sensitivity that sometimes makes it easier for someone to quietly slip past your inner radar, especially when they're wrapped in charm, politeness, and emotional intelligence. They don't come in loud. They come in soft. They don't push. They nudge. And for someone like you who seeks peace over conflict, diplomacy over division, these nudges may go unnoticed. Or worse, They might be rationalized as reasonable suggestions. But here's what I want you to understand. Not everything that looks harmonious truly is. Some things are crafted to appear balanced, only to distract you from the subtle power shift taking place beneath the surface. You are the golden scale. But someone might be adding weight to one side so slowly, so quietly that you begin to lean without realizing you're no longer centered. This is the deeper truth behind the Justice card, which represents you in the tarot. Justice isn't just about fairness in the eyes of others. It's about integrity within yourself. It asks, are you living in alignment with what you know is right? Are you choosing peace externally while sacrificing peace internally? When justice shows up with the Seven of Swords, it's a wake-up call. The Seven of Swords isn't always about betrayal in the traditional sense. It's often about subtle manipulation, masked intentions, or someone trying to influence your decisions without your consent. And for someone ruled by Venus, this kind of manipulation often looks like love, support, or advice. But not all guidance is guidance. Sometimes, it's control dressed in kindness. This doesn't mean you should turn cold or closed off. On the contrary, it's about developing discernment. And discernment isn't suspicion. It's clarity. There's a quiet wisdom that lives inside you, Libra. A voice that knows when your heart is shrinking just to make space for someone else. A feeling in your body when your decisions no longer feel like your own. You don't need evidence. You don't need someone to admit it. You only need to feel the imbalance, and that's enough to start asking questions. You may have been told in the past that questioning someone's intentions is too much, too dramatic, or ungrateful. But let me gently remind you, you are not responsible for maintaining someone else's comfort at the cost of your own clarity. You were not born to absorb another person's chaos just to keep the environment calm. It's okay to speak up. It's okay to draw boundaries. And it's more than okay to protect your peace without apology. Let the wisdom from higher love remind you, true care never needs to disguise itself. It speaks with transparency. It moves with consistency. It makes space for you, instead of reshaping you. So if you've been sensing a quiet distortion, someone who speaks in half-truths, who praises you with a shadow of critique, or who only shows up fully when they feel in control, your awareness is not paranoia. It's intuition. Trust that. Trust you. Because when beauty is real, it doesn't confuse you, it calms you. When connection is authentic, it doesn't question your worth, it amplifies your value. And when love is true, it doesn't dim your light just so theirs can shine. Take a breath. Take a pause. And come back to your center. You've always known how to rebalance the world around you. But now, it's time to bring that same balance inward. Sometimes, the most dangerous forms of manipulation aren't loud or aggressive, they're subtle. They creep in through soft tones, sweet words, and good intentions that don't quite feel right, but are hard to challenge. This man, the one we're talking about today, doesn't storm into your life with chaos. No. He eases his way in gently, cloaked in warmth and concern, wearing the perfect mask of someone who just wants the best for you. And for someone like you, Libra, someone who thrives in peace, who wants to see the good in others, who listens before judging, this approach can be disarming. He's not reckless. He's measured. He doesn't demand. he suggests. And that's where the confusion begins. Because when someone offers what sounds like support, but it starts to pull you away from your own clarity, that's no longer love, it's influence. And the kind of influence that works slowly, steadily, through phrases like, "I just think you should be more realistic," or "Don't you think you're overthinking this?" Or the classic, "You're beautiful, but maybe it's time you tone it down a little." These are the phrases that don't scream control, but whisper doubt. That whisper is what we're addressing here. In relationships, romantic or otherwise, it's easy to mistake comfort for connection, and concern for compatibility. But concern should never come at the cost of your trust in yourself. And compatibility? It's not about agreeing all the time, it's about growing together without shrinking one another. A partner, a friend, or even a family member who repeatedly makes you question your instincts, who gently replaces your decisions with theirs, is not guiding you, they're nudging you off center. And you know what? You've probably felt it. That tiny tightening in your chest when you leave a conversation. That strange silence in your own thoughts after hearing their voice too often. That sudden feeling that maybe you're too sensitive or not thinking clearly, not because you truly believe it, but because they've planted the seed. That seed of self-doubt, when watered consistently, will eventually bloom into a disconnection from your own truth. This is not a judgment, it's an invitation. An invitation to pause and consider, are you still living in alignment with your own truth, or are you slowly bending to someone else's version of it? Because Libra, your voice matters. Your insight matters. The way you weigh decisions, see perspectives, and strive for harmony, those are gifts. But gifts are not meant to be diluted for someone else's comfort. There's wisdom that reminds us, the right people will never need to change your essence to be close to you. They'll honor it. They'll protect it. They'll walk beside it, not ahead of it. If someone in your life is speaking in half-truths, offering compliments dipped in comparison, or creating confusion in the name of love, trust what you feel. Your intuition isn't broken. It's just been talked over too many times. And if you've stayed quiet, if you've dimmed your clarity to keep the peace, you're not alone. Many do. But silence doesn't make things better. It only makes the distance between you and your truth wider. Today is about closing that gap. You don't need to explain why you feel unsettled. You only need to acknowledge it. You don't have to argue your boundaries. You only need to hold them. No one else gets to decide how much of you is too much. So if this resonates with you, take a breath. You're not overreacting. You're waking up. And that is the first step back toward balance. If you feel called to, share in the comments, "I'm opening my eyes to the truth." Because the moment you do, something inside you will begin to shift quietly, powerfully, and in your favor. It's easy to look back and wonder how you got here. How the imbalance became so normalized. How the subtle comments and gentle pressure slowly replaced your own voice. But Libra, it's not because you were blind, it's because you were trying to see the good. You were choosing peace. That's what you do. You're ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty, refinement, and love. Your heart isn't built for where, it's built for harmony. You would rather lean in, listen longer, give the benefit of the doubt, than create waves that disrupt the delicate atmosphere you work so hard to preserve. And while that's one of your most radiant strengths, it's also the very thing that can leave you exposed. You see, the need to avoid conflict doesn't mean you lack courage. It means you value balance. But not everyone in your life plays by the same rules. Some people sense that you'll keep the peace no matter the cost, and they begin to write the rules around your silence. They understand that if they wrap their requests in softness, or veil control with compliments, you might hesitate to say no. And they rely on that. Not out of malice, necessarily, but because they're driven by a desire to shape things their way, even if that means shaping you. That's why this cycle can be so hard to break. Because when the manipulation is delicate, when the imbalance is framed as love or concern, your brilliant mind begins to justify it. You tell yourself they didn't mean harm. You convince yourself you're being too sensitive, too cautious, too dramatic. But deep down where your intuition lies, you already know. You feel it in your body before your mind can catch up. You sense the imbalance before your words can name it. In numerology, your energy resonates deeply with the number 2, symbolizing harmony, cooperation, and sensitivity to others. But when this energy is out of alignment, it can lead to internal suppression. You become so tuned into how others feel that you forget to check in with how you feel. And with the number 6, your connection to beauty, healing, and responsibility, it's so natural for you to want to be the one who makes things better. But sometimes, Libra, the best way to heal a space is to step out of it. Sometimes, love means choosing not to fix, but to feel. The High Priestess card in Tarot reflects this beautifully. She doesn't scream her truth, she listens, deeply. She knows what others don't say, and senses what's hiding behind the veil. You, too, hold that quiet wisdom. You felt the energetic shifts in your relationships, in conversations, even in silence. But have you given yourself permission to act on what you feel, not just what you're told? There's a quiet lesson echoed in ancient wisdom: not every gentle voice carries truth, and not every conflict is a problem. Some confrontations are necessary checkpoints. Moments when your soul asks, are you living in truth, or just avoiding tension? This week, I gently invite you to practice coming home to yourself. Begin with 5 minutes in the morning. Sit with your breath, listen to your body, write down anything that rises. Your dreams, your reactions, your quiet insights. The more you record them, the more clearly you'll see the patterns. Over time, what once felt like confusion will begin to feel like clarity. Because you were never lost, Libra. You were just layered under the expectations of others. And now, piece by piece, you're uncovering your truth, not to create chaos, but to finally feel aligned again. It may sound simple to say, protect your energy, but for someone like you, dear Libra, that is no small task. You were born to seek beauty, to maintain balance, to smooth the edges of chaos in a world that too often feels jagged. Your instinct is to restore peace, even if it costs you a part of your own calm. And that's where today's truth comes in. Protecting your energy doesn't mean building walls, it means building boundaries that honor the soul you've worked so hard to understand. One of the most essential steps in preserving your emotional field is learning to say no without apology. As someone ruled by Venus, you have an innate desire to be liked, to be seen as fair, cooperative, even graceful under pressure. But grace is not silence in the face of harm. Grace is the ability to stand firm with kindness. If someone is disturbing your inner peace, you are not responsible for making them feel comfortable with your discomfort. Choosing yourself calmly, clearly, and without guilt isn't selfish. It's sacred. Start by observing where you feel most drained. Are there people in your life who only seem to show up when they need something? Or worse, they make you feel like your boundaries are just phases you'll get over? When you recognize these patterns, take note. Your nervous system often picks up on manipulation before your mind does. If your body tightens, your heart races, or your thoughts spiral after an interaction, that's a signal. Listen to it. To restore harmony in your energetic field, you must give your mind and body space to breathe again. For Libras, stress often builds subtly through mental tension and emotional suppression rather than outward expression. This can lead to hormonal imbalances, sleep disturbances, and a slow disconnection from your own intuition. That's why it's essential to nourish your nervous system daily, not just when you're on the verge of burnout. Consider creating a daily ritual, no matter how small, that anchors you back into your body. Sip warm chamomile tea in silence. Add magnesium to your evening routine to soothe your muscles and support rest. Let art back into your life, not for productivity, but for presence. Dance without choreography. Paint without needing it to be perfect. Play music and let it carry you without needing a destination. Physical movement also realigns your inner compass. Gentle yoga, especially practices focused on breath and flow, will help you move the energy that gets stuck when you're holding too much for too long. Even a 10-minute stretch by candlelight can awaken that soft voice within that you've been missing. And if you're someone who loves visuals, embrace the power of color. Surround yourself with hues that reflect who you're becoming. Soft pink invites compassion for yourself, especially when you're being harder on yourself than anyone else is. Pastel blue calms the overthinking, helps regulate your breath, and opens up clarity when your mind feels fogged by too many opinions. Alongside physical care, shift your inner narrative. Words are energy, and your words spoken or written shape the vibrational reality you live in. Begin each day by writing this affirmation: I do not need to keep the peace with those who destroy it within me. Do this 5 times, slowly, mindfully. Let the truth settle into your cells, not just your thoughts. As you do this work, remember that strength doesn't always look like loud resistance. Sometimes, it looks like quiet clarity. Like choosing not to reply. Like exiting the conversation before explaining yourself. Like deleting the message before it's even typed. Ask yourself gently, are you staying quiet just to preserve an image of a relationship that no longer reflects your truth? If so, it's time to choose truth over appearance. If this part of the message speaks to your heart, comment below, I choose truth over comfort. That single statement might be the first time in a long while that you declare where your peace truly begins. And when you do that, you'll feel a soft shift in your energy field, like your breath returning to your body, like your balance returning to your life. By now, you may be realizing that the discomfort you've been feeling wasn't a signal that something was wrong with you, it was your spirit gently nudging you toward truth. When relationships begin to feel heavy, confusing, or one-sided, it's not always because they're broken. Sometimes, it's simply because you've outgrown the version of yourself that used to keep them alive. And Libra, that's a powerful awakening. Because for someone like you who values harmony so deeply, it's never been about abandoning people. It's been about learning to stay with yourself first. This is where the quiet courage begins. The kind of love you deserve will never ask you to soften your truth to make someone else feel more secure. It won't require you to be the easier version of yourself, the version who smiles when she's uneasy, who nods along when something doesn't feel right, who stays quiet to avoid stirring the waters. No, the people who are meant to stay in your life will not ask you to shrink so they can stretch. They will meet you in the middle with respect, with clarity, with grace. And in tarot, the Queen of Swords embodies that exact essence. She's clear-minded, direct, wise, and yet, she carries a softness in her truth. She isn't cold, she's discerning. She doesn't use her voice to hurt, but she also doesn't hide it to keep the peace. That, dear Libra, is your next evolution, learning to speak your truth without guilt, and allowing whatever is not aligned with it to fall away. You may feel torn when people begin to fade as you grow into your integrity. But don't rush to call it loss. Growth naturally shifts the gravity around you. The connections built on roles you no longer play, or silence you no longer offer, may feel threatened, but that's not your burden to carry. Relationships built on mutual understanding will expand with you. The rest will simply release themselves, like leaves in the wind. And that's not rejection. That's refinement. You were never meant to carry everyone with you. You were meant to carry the truth. And when you do, the right ones stay, not because you forced it, but because their energy matches yours when you're being fully yourself. This is where divine wisdom comes in, reminding us that what is removed from our lives is often cleared to make space for something deeper. Something stronger. Something that honors the version of you that's no longer surviving but living. You don't need permission to return to yourself. You don't need validation to speak with clarity. And you definitely don't need to explain why you've stopped apologizing for being who you've always been. Let the spaces in your life be filled only by those who honor your rhythm, your kindness, your inner balance. Let the silence you used to fill with compromise now be filled with clarity. Let every no you say become an invitation to the kind of yes that feeds your soul. If someone makes you feel guilty for being honest, for taking up space, for finally choosing yourself, they were never holding your heart. They were holding your image. And you don't owe anyone a version of yourself that no longer reflects who you are. If this resonates with you, take a moment to honor that awareness. Write in the comments below, I choose to return to my true values. Because the moment you do, the universe begins to conspire with you, clearing out what no longer belongs, and sending in what your soul has always deserved. If you've made it here, to these final moments of the message, that alone speaks volumes about your heart, your awareness, and your readiness. Libra, you are someone who feels deeply, who gives generously, and who has, at times, silenced yourself just to keep the peace. But peace built on silence is not real peace, it's postponement. And you deserve more than just a quiet exterior. You deserve a soul that feels safe inside its own truth. The beauty you've always sought around you. It was never meant to come at the cost of your own voice. And the balance you offer others? It's time now to offer it to yourself first. Because true harmony doesn't begin with what others expect from you, it begins when you start honoring what your spirit has been whispering all along. You are not here to please everyone. You are here to remember who you are when you stop asking for permission. When you stop editing your thoughts to be digestible. When you stop shrinking your energy just so someone else doesn't feel threatened by your strength. Harmony doesn't require you to disappear. It invites you to be present fully, honestly, unapologetically. So take a moment now, not to think, but to feel. What part of you has been waiting to breathe again? What truth have you tucked away just to preserve something that hasn't preserved you? What would happen if, just for today, you chose to listen to that inner voice louder than any external opinion? This is where transformation begins, not with drastic moves, but with simple, sacred choices. Choosing to say no without guilt. Choosing to leave the message unanswered. Choosing to pause before explaining yourself. Choosing to rest instead of performing. Choosing stillness over spectacle. Choosing truth over temporary approval. And if part of you feels unsure, I want to remind you gently, even the most powerful flowers bloom in silence. You don't need to announce your shift. You only need to live it. The people who are meant to stay will feel the shift and meet you in your new light. The rest? They were never meant to carry the next version of you anyway. So ask yourself this: are you willing to risk discomfort for the sake of your own alignment? Are you ready to stop negotiating your peace for the illusion of connection? And most importantly, are you prepared to reclaim your life, not just the one others see, but the one you feel? If this message found its way to your heart, let that be confirmation that you're not alone. Let that be proof that your intuition is alive and well. Comment below: I choose truth, not perfection. Let the world and yourself know that your healing has already begun. And if this video has spoken to something sacred inside of you, if it gave you a sense of clarity, comfort, or courage, I invite you to honor that moment. Like this video as a way of affirming your shift. Share your thoughts so that others who are walking through the same realization can find your light. And subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where we hold space for souls just like yours, gentle, wise, and ready to rise. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for being here. For listening not just with your ears, but with your spirit. You are not just finding balance, you are becoming it. And the world needs exactly that.